You're missing out on some big drama if you haven't seen this one. Joe Rogan has taken the kid gloves off against The View when the panel, especially Joy Behar, peddled one of the most ridiculous conspiracies about him, supposedly believing in dragons. But Joe's hilarious clapback has left the network in damage control mode, and I think you'll agree why when you take a look at this. And by the way, just want to say happy Thanksgiving. I am here with my family at the moment, so I'm in a little different setup. That said, I'm so thankful for all of you. Let's get into it.
When you see something, you have to source it. You have to check and then check again. And it doesn't matter who sent it to you or who you're looking at and thinking, oh, this person's right. A lot of the time, we've got AI, we've got a massive misinformation and disinformation campaign. It is the #1 near-term fear of the Global Economic Forum. People want us divided, and they aren't just here in this country. They're foreign adversaries who are infiltrating our social media because it is prudent for us to stay that way. So when you see something that really pisses you off, you should triple check that one.
Yeah. But I think that that's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News.
But we're checked by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if we're wrong, we have, the legal note here.
The human legal note?
But we went from Walter Cronkite, basically, to this guy, Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. I checked it. He believes in dragons? He believes in dragons.
Did you triple source that?
Yes, I did. And he also thinks that dragons, like dinosaur-y type of animals, roamed the earth when people did. So this is the type of really, really bad information that's going out there.
I don't know if I should laugh or cry at this. There's no statement that could have aged like raw milk as quickly as when she said people should trust The View. But the panel picked the worst target they could have in someone like Joe Rogan because he unleashed a firestorm of online trolling against the show simply by changing his X bio to Dragon Believer. And you know what? Maybe that's the only way to clap back at something as ridiculously absurd about Rogan as this. For someone like him who thinks of The View as a rabies-infested henhouse, as he called it.
It is a rabies-infested henhouse.
There's no point to even dignifying them with a response. And by the way, this is a great time to subscribe and hit the notification bell because we've got our eyes where the mainstream media will not put them. Now, just for the record, of course, Joe Rogan doesn't literally believe in dragons. However, if you're dumb enough to take sound bites of him at face value, you'd leave thinking Joe Rogan believes we live in a computer simulation or that alien lizard people are ruining the government. Now, just to give you full context, here's what Joe Rogan actually said about dragons existing, even though the style and sarcasm is painfully obvious to anyone that ever listened to Joe for more than 5 minutes.
You know what I'm really fascinated with is things that existed like only in myth, but that every culture has, like dragons. Like I had this guy, Forrest Gallant. He's a wildlife biologist, and he thinks that there's a real possibility that dragons were an actual thing. And that...
Well, when they have lived, like when dinosaurs were around?
No, they lived alongside humans. That's why there's all these records and all these different cultures. And, there's Chinese culture has dragons, Japanese culture has dragons, ancient Europeans have dragons. Like dragon is not a fire breathing. That seems to be bullshit. But maybe even...
What kind of, what would their purpose be?
Well, they're probably like a crocodile that flies. There was probably more than one kind of really dangerous reptile that they called dragons, like Komodo dragons.
Right, Komodo dragons.
Giant lizard, they call it a dragon, right? Crocodiles, dragons. The question is whether or not one of them actually flew. Because we know that pterodactyls were a real thing. And if pterodactyls...
they probably were real then.
Nah. I think it's probably something like that. Some kind of enormous bird type creature.
And here's the truth. It's clips like this in full context that forever run any trust The View ever had into the ground, especially for the millions of Joe's own audience. And then the left wonders why young men are just checking out in droves. Well, it's simply the fact that they feel talked down to inside a culture that's severely disconnected from why someone like Joe Rogan is appealing to them in the first place. Speaking of which, have you ever seen a quicker self-own than The View saying they are a credible and trusted news source?
You gotta be kidding me.
Then the fact that this has literally been the worst week for that, The View has been forced to offer 4 legal notes live on the show for a slew of unfounded allegations they've hurled at Donald Trump's cabinet picks. And with every single one of them, they've reminded us why such a large segment of their audience is actually made of people that only love to hate it, And it's a realization that has largely settled into the popular psyche over the 3 decades that The View has been on, and Joe himself had never really shied away from saying up front what he really thinks about the panel.
If you average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin's
You think it's
dumb.
deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked, and you went on stage with it and just fucking, it's nothing
just
there.
Go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there. Sometimes comics do that.
Yeah, and
fun.
The other question is then, is that representative of a big constituency? I think probably yes.
Well, a lot of
MSNBC
people,
viewers are probably also thinking,
I don't even think the MSNBC viewers. I think they're a little bit more sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
This is like low information, blue no matter who, like older housewives who are mad at the world. That's the appeal that Whoopi Goldberg has.
I'd say it's hard to disagree there, but here's something crazier. I think there's a degree of desperation that has set into The View lately in the past few weeks because they've realized something scary. Donald Trump's electoral victory has created a big shakeup in the left-wing media, and some important decisions are being made to drop certain shows, channels, or brand subsidiaries. If these inconvenient run-ins and gaffes keep happening on air, well, it's only so long that The View could see the axe fall on them as well, if it doesn't make sense to the network financially. And it would be a long overdue retirement if you ask me, but it would still be a shame for the panel to exit the media scene in the form of a clear defeat against a giant of online media like Joe Rogan. That's why they're doing themselves such a disservice picking a needless fight against Joe. And it's not even new because they've been attacking him one way or another all the way from the pandemic. It is no wonder why more than 2/3 of Americans report little to no trust in the mainstream media at large. Meanwhile, the View panelists seem more concerned about the shuffles happening in the online media space than the fact that they're standing on a cliff's edge and could fall over at any second.
There are some really good news kind of influencer types, and I think it's great that they're getting information about global and current events in front of younger people who maybe don't tune into traditional media. But to Sarah's point, there has to be some fact checking and actually verification of the things that are shared, because I spend a lot of time on Instagram Reels and I'm served up things that I get outraged about, and then I realize, oh, that's not even true, but I have the sense to go and look it up. But what I do worry about with this, like the Blue Sky versus X, because a lot of people I follow on X, Twitter, have now left to go to Blue Sky, I worry we're all going into our own echo chamber. So we had this, this election that was tense. Donald Trump won, and the right is going to stay on X, and then the left is all going to be on Blue Sky. How do we try to talk to each other?
I think it's a perfect example of why The View represents the old and decadent news media that's on its way out, while Joe Rogan in the world of podcasting in general takes the reins of public discourse. As much as The View may try to feign a degree of bipartisanship by having token Republicans on, like Alyssa Farah Griffin, we all know that it's still a mutually reassured echo chamber. And it just becomes boring now. The least The View can do to not accelerate their decline is to avoid a fight with a Goliath like Joe Rogan. But let me know in the comments if you agree, and share this video across your social media to see if others feel the same way. I think the role of online and legacy media has seen a watershed moment in this election, whose impact will make itself visible in the next few years.